And that's one of the most, poignant examples of power. Gravity is going to be gravity. You can scream to the top of your lungs jumping off a building, and absent maybe a parachute or something artificial. If you jump off of a building, you can scream at the gravity, you can yell at the gravity, you can complain at the gravity, but it is going to pull you to the ground at a predictable speed, predictable energy. And so if someone has gravity, it's interesting that gravity is used sometimes in relation to, kind power. When someone says someone has gravity or gravitas, it's kind power, power that's held with respect. They know the outcome of that power, so they need an add force. Gravity doesn't yell at you. It doesn't yell at you either. When it begins to pull you toward, the earth, it just pulls. It does what it does consistently. Exactly. And so, I think, how does one remain kind? Find an area they can be powerful in. Stay away from the ones that they're not. Absolutely. Realize that people disagreeing doesn't necessarily mean that their gravity is any less forceful or any less powerful. And just be with that. Someone's agreement or disagreement doesn't need to change your knowledge of, what you're put on earth to do. Hopefully that helps.
Yeah, and I think it's important because I've seen, I actually, met a coach that is helping a lot of people make millions of dollars. But I mean, this gentleman was yelling a lot to them. Will be asking feedback and not letting I love what you said, the subservient followers respond. It was such an old style of I don't even know if I can call that leadership, Kevin. And I was watching that, and there were people really subservient to that. And so what this lady is asking, and I think she's coming to Vegas, and she has a question on how can she work with you in the level of the company she's at, but that she spent so much, literally millions, in mentors, and it exhausted her in a way, and her employees, that alpha without kindness, old style mentality. So I think it will definitely serve her. I hope what you ask. And then now the last couple of questions. I mean, I'm just trying to crunch it in time. Um, you you did a sharing the other day about the high ticket, and I know we could do another podcast just about that, about the high ticket and the low ticket, and how low ticket people buy your products. I believe that you said that, but high ticket people buy who you are. Could you share a little bit about that, and then afterwards we'll share how people can connect with you and the services. I know you have a class coming up on December 7th, correct? Sorry to jump up, but I remember that.
I do, Yvonne, but I've long since sold that out.
Of course, he always sold. I told people, before, like,
I'm so
by
sorry.
the time I know, but I see. This is what I love about Kevin. Everyone, I've been speaking about you in our network television that I have and everything. I'm like, by the time Kevin comes to the podcast, what you see in social media is sold out. I swear to you, I shared it. So there it is, children. But you can follow him on the media. But let's go back to this.
Yeah, I have the question.
Yes, let's go back. Let's go back to the question of the high ticket and low ticket, because when someone tries to bring this in Latin America and in big corporations and everything, they still haven't grasped why high ticket is actually really good and is really good for serving others. Would you care to explain just briefly? I know this is a huge topic where people can learn more with you, but briefly touch into the spiritual aspect of this.
Well, the good thing is we've already taught it twice, and I'll just reflect back to that.
Yes.
And then bring some new things. So first of all, we talked about basically the information and the intimacy. So a lot of times when people are paying, let's just say relatively low ticket, that type of person wants a lot. And interestingly enough, the more people pay, they want less. If you go to a restaurant that is relatively low budget, you're going to get huge quantity of servings. Then as the prices reach and pass a certain point, the quantities become less and less and less on the plate. You know, if you many times I grew up in Mississippi, homes where people were not that wealthy, their kids would get these huge presents, like size wise. And then people who had more money, the things that they gave were much smaller. So, lower ticket people are looking for a compilation to compile everything you can on a topic. But a higher ticket person values their time more. And so they're looking for a distillation, boil off all the fluff and give them the one thing that they need to do and they can go and do and be done with it. And I think that that's something that, is a completely different paradigm. Also, there's the intimacy. The low ticket is going to pay for, how many people are around, because people who are there's really two types of aspiration of mankind, whether they're growing in money, sexuality, or the things of the human nature or power, is that the people at the lower scales are seeking community, are seeking elevation into community. They want to be accepted by a group of people that they've not been yet accepted by. Whereas the next level of growth is a growth out of community and a growth into sovereignty. And they're trying to elevate out of that community. So they're looking for who's not there, because they want to focus on other people who are seeking sovereignty, people who are seeking to move, as Dr. Stephen Covey said, from independence to from dependence to independence to interdependence.
Yes.
Whereas if you don't go through independence and seek sovereignty, you move not to interdependence, but to codependence,
Yes.
which is a real challenge in, low ticket groups, low ticket buyers, low ticket, they become, you are first their savior and then you're their crucified savior,
Oh,
because
yes.
when you don't save them from themselves, and they don't take any personal responsibility, but we accept that relationship if we,
Absolutely.
know what it is to begin with. And now I've shared, we do. So there's one difference between the two when we talked about the level of intimacy. And then the other one was, we talked about, that higher ticket pays for the elimination of the weaker links, and the low ticket pays for the volume with which you operate. The low ticket's going to be more than happy to pay you if you become, some celebrity, credentialed celebrity, and have a lot of followers. Whereas a high ticket person doesn't really care how many people follow you, just if you can do
Absolutely.
the job necessary. So
I love that.
that might help.
you know
Yep.
I love what you said of the crucifixion, because I always say people want the Buddha, but then they want to poison the Buddha. People want the Christ, especially in the low ticket, and then you want to crucify the Christ. So it's such
Oh,
an
as soon as
important.
someone tells you that you're going to save them from where they are, it's only a matter of months until you're the crucified savior,
Yes,
because those
I
two,
know. I'm attracted
that's a
that about
natural
you.
progression. People need to be encouraged. People need to be, as we said,
Yes,
believed in. You can
yes,
have a transfer of faith, but what did I tell the person that you mentioned in the first? You can borrow my faith. I didn't say I'll
exactly.
have faith for
No,
you and then
no.
you don't have to carry it. It's like,
Yes,
here, now it's your responsibility to carry it. I'll give you mine, but you've got to carry it into battle. It's not like I'm
absolutely.
going to, I'm not going to shoot the enemy for you. I'll give you my weapon to fight against the enemies, but you're going to have to go into battle yourself if you want the prize or trophy at the end.
Oh, this is so epic. This sounded like Sun Tzu's The Art of War, but better. More like, oh, I felt that. I felt that. I'm going to carry this in my soul and all these notes that I'm having. So, Kevin, just because of the time, I know you have a mastermind that is the forum, correct? And you, because you obviously, if you all are paying attention in how chill and how actually relaxed. There's a sense of tranquility and relaxation that emanates. I can feel it from Kevin. You are not going to be finding these in like advertisement or something. So how can people, especially Rebecca asked, because she did a whole research, so that's why I'm honoring answering her questions. She did the work, right? How can people work with you? I know you have the mastermind, the forum. I don't know if you still have the Chillionaire group. Do you want to share a little bit about that?
Um,
Mm?
yeah, I do. I don't have a lot of promotions.
I know that.
going on, nor have I for a while. Um, well, like a while since the beginning of when I
I
started my
know
business,
since the beginning,
for like
Kevin.
the
I'm
last
like
19 years.
for a while.
But
I mean,
yeah, for like maybe 19 years. But first of all, if you actually, and I don't say this to create a flood, but if you actually know Yvonne personally, reach out. That would actually be a great way if you know her personally.
exactly.
If you don't and you're here and you're listening, I do most of my public, whatever I do, meandering, pondering, mumbling in writing or videos or whatever on my Facebook profile. It's facebook.com/ the real Kevin Nations. There may not even be offers there. Should you feel that you
Yes,
may want to work together, just reach out and message me on that profile. If you don't get a response, Facebook is really, really, I respond like almost immediately because I don't have a schedule, so I'm always available to do that.
I love
I have a
that. Could you
couple hours a
repeat
week
that,
committed.
Kevin, for people to listen to this? He
Well, I
just
have
said
2 hours. I have 2 hours a week that's committed to client groups at like, 1 Pacific on Mondays and Thursdays. But besides that, my time is free to serve, at whatever's the highest thing to do at the time, which right now is this. But if you reach out and don't get a response, then just comment on one of my posts because it's very likely Facebook put it somewhere that I can't see it. And I found that they have quite a few little cubby holes that they can put messages into, some harder to find than others. But if if you left a comment, I would find it. I say that only because I found some messages months later, and some of you may not have followed me for some time. So
yes.
that would be good.
Yeah, or I also
However, I
yes.
would
Oh,
share
okay.
really quickly, Yvonne,
Please.
that I would not reach out to work with me out of sheer curiosity if you're
Absolutely.
unclear about that. And
Yes.
this isn't to save my time, but if you're unclear as to whether that's a good fit, then exhaust the efforts of the mentors that you now have.
Correct.
Because I've seen far too many people, much like relationships, think that a new mentor is going to be, as we mentioned, the savior. And it would be far better if you have exhausted the capacity of the relationship you now have and you're operating at the full level of their contribution and your reception and all of that. Well, that's great. But if you haven't, I would not exhaust that. That's going to be a good lesson in discipline for you. And should we ever work together, you'll be better served for waiting for that time. I'll be around another 20 years or so. So no rush. And if if we didn't work together and you found what you needed within your own circle, that's great too. So anyway, don't be so quick to think that a new
Exactly.
person or paradigm is going to be the answer. Sometimes a new level of commitment will provide similar, if not better, responses.
So I was about to say, if you do not know what you want, Kevin responded so kindly right now. I was gonna say, please don't message if you do not know what you want, but if you do know, because I know that a couple of people that have really good established businesses have reached out to me. You can actually send me a message because if you do want to work with Kevin, you probably know me too, so you can always contact me and I'll be a happy bridge for those of you who do know what you want and you have done your due diligence of investigation and preparation.
Can I add a share, Yvonne, before
Please,
we close?
this is your
So,
podcast.
aw, so this may go to a number of people, and statistically speaking, the purpose of this was not to promote what
Exactly.
I do.
Absolutely.
And statistically speaking, far more of you will listen to this and pray tell, take something away of value, and we may never work together. And I just want to share for that, I am grateful.
Oh,
Don't fail to take action on something you may have heard because you think that this may have been a setup for an opportunity